Any questions from the class? Hello.
Good evening, Professor.
Good evening.
Hello, Professor.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Professor.
Hi.
Good evening, Professor.
Hello, good evening. I have a few unresponded emails from you. I think some of you have submitted late assignments or asked me for feedback. I haven't done any grading yet. And I haven't converted the video files. I think it was Kelvin or Eric who asked me for the videos. Let me work on that tomorrow and I'll update your gradebook and I'll update the video list. Is that okay?
Ma'am, it was me who couldn't submit on time.
Yeah, next time try to submit on time.
I
like to receive emails.
Yes, ma'am. I sent a bunch of emails to you because I was planning.
Yeah, don't send a bunch of emails. It's not the best idea.
Okay.
Just get into habit of submitting before the midnight, well ahead of time, so you don't have to email me. For one, I lose track of emails. Two, it's just good that you respect the deadlines. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I'll definitely make sure I do it beforehand, before time from next time.
Yep. I think I'll look. I think I opened your file in office today, but if not, I'll open it later.
Okay.
And give you credits this time.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. So I'm going to talk about fully developed use case description very briefly again. And I'm going to talk about Crud because Crud is useful in a lot of information systems focus areas. So we talk about it in terms of analysis, and we talk about it as a method that would help us identify some of the use cases that we have missed to identify. But it, in general, is a very useful tool for security and access control and a lot of other things. So we're gonna focus on that, and we'll see how we can practice this on Wednesday. So in the past, when my students had to do a project on Mendix, which is a low-code app development platform, we could see CRUD tables there and how they mean for the project, what's their meaning for the project. But right now, I have to see how I can get you up to speed with a system that could help us look at a CRUD table in action or in use. Just a reminder that that guest lecture is tonight at 7 p.m. Could you get the RSVP link work? Yes? No? I'll show you again. Let me have that up here and I'll show you again. So there is a guest lecture tonight and I'll have it up here soon to show you. Let me just organize my screens. Minimize this and share. I think that's it. Yep. So this is our plan. We're going to talk about CRUD and fully developed use case description. There will be a lab on Wednesday, and we're going to work on quizzes. I'm hoping that I can create a new lab for you. If not, we're gonna recycle some of the labs that we've done in the past in the course. But I'm hoping that I can get something creative connected to Google platform that you've been researching. This is the talk tonight. If you forgot about that, it's 7 p.m. And you have to RSVP to get the link. How do I get the link? I think it was in an email. So maybe I should send you the email note. But I know these people, and I think no, Daniel, have you seen Justin talk to my classes or no? I don't think so. He's
Yeah, they did a workshop about a year ago at yeah. I think I've heard from him twice. Did a workshop with him once.
so. Do you want to talk a little bit about and help your classmates gauge the value of the talk? Did you think that it was a good talk?
Yeah, they're real comfortable speakers. They give you a pretty good outlook on their industry experiences.
Relatively recent graduates, so I think they're in early 30s or late 20s. So some of the decisions they've made for picking their first job after graduation or changing jobs, going from one type of IT company to another type of IT company. I've heard Justin several times, and I think his experiences are very relatable. So there could be really good ideas for you to find. I'm gonna send the link in chat in case somebody just wants to RSVP right now and get the Zoom link. The link is in the chat again. So that talk is tonight, and I think it's a good thing for you if you have time to attend. And this is a system sequence diagram. As a reminder, I'm sharing with you what's happening in the system sequence diagram. I'm gonna ask you. So just spend 2 minutes scanning this and see what you can explain in English. Do you see the full screen version of my slides, Kelvin? Yes? For everyone? Full screen version? Okay.
Yeah, we can.
Go ahead, spend 2 minutes, read this, and then explain in plain English. Who wants to explain this process that probably makes sense to you? Explain in English. Anybody wants to volunteer before I call your names?
Ma'am, this is a system diagram for user agent and the service provider, between the user agent, service provider, and identified providers. So user agent is requesting the target resource first, which is from service provider. Then so there is a discover the IDP. So they are discovering, I think the connection is discovering the IDP. Then service provider gives the response in XHTML form. Then this form then user agent requests the SSO service from identity provider. From there it gets the response for this form, XHTML form. Then the fifth is user agent again requests the service provider consumers for consumer services. Service provider replies back, redirects to target resource. Then it goes, then user agent requests the target resource. Then service provider responses with the requested resource.
Perfect. Good job. So this is a system sequence or a sequence diagram. And it has 3 entities that you've noted, and the back and forth communication between them so that the user is authenticated or identified using a single sign-on service. I'm going to ask you, this is a sequence diagram. You've created an activity diagram which can serve the same purpose, show the flow of activities. We also looked at a fully developed use case description, probably a lot of written words. One example that we have seen, and today we're going to talk about one more example. So we are still, just a reminder that we are still in the process modeling. We did data modeling, we did requirements modeling, we talked about functional, non-functional requirements. Now we're coming back to our process modeling and doing a little bit of work here. Your fully developed use case description provides information that is related to process modeling and requirements modeling. So this is adding a new vehicle to an existing policy. Some of you have done this with your parents. Some of you may go through it at some point in the future, adding cars to your insurance policy or changing something about your insurance policy is something that more or less everyone has an idea about. So I want you to look at the use case name, scenario name, event description, and so on. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to just skim through, and then we're going to stay on some of the more important areas that I want you to focus on. So just 2 minutes scanning the whole table. Okay, I want to go a little bit higher and not flow activities. Let's see if I can my circles up. I want you to focus on preconditions. So just disregard that arrow for now. Preconditions. What are some of the preconditions for you to be able to add a vehicle to your existing insurance policy? Keep in mind the specific scenario is when you want to do that by phone call. So you are not interacting with the system. It's the clerk interacting with the system or the insurance agent. When we talk about scenarios, and this is something that I have not explicitly discussed with you, is that scenario is a very specific way of completing a given use case. So you can, in theory, go online. Most of the insurance providers do that. They give you a way to add, change things in your policy. So you could do that yourself. So you would be the person who interacts with the system. But in this case, you're not interacting with the system. You're interacting with another human being. That human being will interact with the system. And that's why when you look at the flow of activities, you see clerk does this, clerk does that. Preconditions are about the state of the data that should be there before you can proceed with the use case. So here they say that the customer policy must exist and must be up to date. So there are tables in the database. They keep track of your information and your policy. They have to be able to retrieve a policy, and they have to make sure the information is up to date. So maybe here you're querying one or multiple tables, but the idea is that that information is in your database. You have to just verify it. So preconditions is about things that the system have to check. How does the system check? Maybe there are rules or things in the database, business rules or rules that are based on your data in the database. So it's the second precondition is the standard vehicle control tables for this vehicle type and model must exist. So this is related to the system, not about you. And the standard coverage tables must exist. So the insurance company must have the means and the business rules that allow you to add this type of vehicle. So you have the business rule part and the database part. One of them is about you and your policy. One of them is about the company and what they have there. Now I want you to focus on the post condition because you're adding a new vehicle. The vehicle is created and connected to policy. It's also connected to other pieces of information that they have. It's connected to standard vehicles table, connected to the standard coverage, new driver, if there is a new driver that comes with the new vehicle, like if you're adding yourself and your car to your parents' policy, this is what happens. So a new person is added. The drivers are updated, the policy is updated, and the new payment plan is created. So everything that happens after you do that. And then the flow of activities is something that by this time, after doing a few examples, you must be able to read and feel comfortable showing an activity diagram for it. So 2 swim lanes, one is for the actor who is the clerk, one is for the insurance system, and there are different steps that each side takes. I want you to look at the exception conditions as well. So they are somehow connected to your preconditions, but you would list the scenarios in which you would stop the use case. The policy is not updated, the tables are not there, your car type is not compatible. For now, I want you to find in your mind for now. I don't want you to draw it. A good way of representing these steps. So let's look at these steps together for the flow of activities. You verify the customer, verify their policies. You enter car information and driver's information coverage, and then add new person. So if there is a new driver, there is a new person, and then change the premiums and complete the process. Let's look at the activity diagram that goes with it. And I'm not sure if it's visible. Is it visible for you? So they have the customer as a swim lane. If I asked you to create an activity diagram, you could just keep the clerk, not the customer. But they start with the customer that provides the policy number. So for my classes, when we're in analysis, I usually ask you to just have 2 swim lanes, unless in terms of some platforms like Google, there are multiple entities that are involved and the system as black box does not have a meaningful representation there. But so the customer is there, the policy is entered, the status is verified, the car information is entered, coverage information also is entered. So the back and forth between the customer and clerk, I overlook those steps. I stay on the clerk. And I think Anissa had in one of her activity diagrams a section in which she called another use case. So instead of listing the steps, she did the include. Say, I'm going to include all the steps required in the other use case. So they do this here. Look here in the middle. They say invoke, add new driver use case. If you remember, we talked about include and extend when we talked about use cases. If a use case always requires steps in another use case, you're gonna include that, include the other use case. Under what condition you would do that? When there are a set of steps that happen again and again, and they are used in different sections of the system. So it's the same idea of reusabilities. You put all the steps in a unit, you call it a use case, and then you call the use case in places when you need those steps. So this is that. This is the include relationship that you invoke another use case here, and then you do update the coverage and do the rest of the steps. So this was another example of a fully developed use case description and the activity diagram that goes with it. Usually on my exams, I give you a fully developed use case description and I ask you to give me preconditions and post-conditions. And I asked you to do an activity diagram or a system sequence diagram using the flow of activities that you've seen. So just make sure you understand the correspondence and you make sure you're clear on what preconditions and post-conditions are. Now I'm going to switch gears and talk about Crud. What is Crud and how is it used? Earlier during the semester, we talked about methods for identifying use cases. There is user goal technique in which you think about users and then what they expect from the system, and you're going to formulate them as use cases. And some of you have been observing different systems and I have been identifying use cases. And that gives you a list of use cases. There is another method we call event decomposition. When you look at all the events happening in the outside world and the ones that the system needs to respond to, that would give you another list of use cases. What Crud technique does is that it helps you realize whether or not you have missed any use cases. And Crud is very useful method in general. After you learn it today, you can think about how it can help you organize your ideas in different areas of the project. So let's look at Crud as it relates to identifying missing use cases. How do we use that? Here, how we use it. After we identified our things, our classes, we're going to list them at the top. So we're going to list all the classes that appeared on your domain model class diagram at the top. This is the example from a book. So they have 4 classes: customer, account, sale, and adjustment. An adjustment is something they do to sales to change the prices. And then they, on the left column, so the top row is the list of classes that you have identified. On the left column is the list of use cases that you have identified. So they have a bunch of use cases: create customer account, look up customer, and so on. Now, what happens in Crud is based on this idea. The idea and the Crud stays for create, read, update, and delete. It says that if you have a class, like a customer here, so there is a class that you think should be in your domain model, then you should have at least one use case that creates, C, that stands for create, instances of that class. So it means that somebody, some role, some groups of users should be able to create instances of that class. Again, the same logic. If you have a class, there should be a group of users that using a feature, a use case, they can read information stored in instances of that class. So in other words, if you have objects created, somebody should read them. Otherwise, why are you creating them? If you go back to your insurance policy, when they verify your policy, that's when they read. So they perform a read action on instances of insurance policy class. So that's CR, so create, read. What is U? Update. So if you have classes like customer here, there should be at least one use case that allows a group or multiple groups of people to update instances of that class. So again, if the instances are created, if they are read, if there are problems or errors or things that change over time, somebody should have a feature, somebody should go on the system using some menu option or a button, be able to update instances of that class. And D stands for delete and archive. If you create instances of a class, if you update them, if you read from them, at some point in time, somebody should be able to delete or archive them. So there should be at least one use case that does B, delete or archive. So how do we use CRUD? We list all of our classes at the top, all the use cases on the left, and we go one column at a time, one class at a time. And then we read the use case, in this case, create customer account. Does it perform C, R, U, or D on instances of customer? So this is clearly C because you're creating a customer account. The customer is new and account is new. Oh, sorry, you go one row at a time, one at this time. So we go one row at a time, look at the use case and the action they perform on each of those classes. So the create customer account also performs C on account. It does nothing to sell, it does nothing to adjustment. So two C's. Look up customer. It does R to customer, it does R to account. So in the example that we just shared with you, look up policy, they look up you as a customer and they look up policy, and they had it as two different steps in their activity diagram. So they read you and they read your insurance policy. They do two reads. And then produce customer usage report that reads your information, reads your account, and reads the sale associated with your account. Process account adjustment, it reads you, or it updates your account, and it reads sale, so it adjusts your account based on the sales that is ongoing, and it creates an adjustment. Update customer account, it does U and D on customer, U or D depending on the implementation. It either updates you or deletes you, because sometimes updating means that you remove your account. Now we go one row at a time. We put C, R, U, or D. Now we go one column at a time and we see what is missing. So for customer here, C, R, U, D, nothing missing. I have use cases to C, R, U, and D. Maybe you can say I want to have a specific use case for D. You can do that. For account, C, R, U, D is there. For sale, only R is there. So there is no use case that allows you to create sale. So C is missing. There is no use case that would allow any group of users to update sales. And there is no use case that allows any group of users to delete sales. So C, U, and D are missing. What is your responsibility? formulate use cases that would allow a group of users or multiple group of users to perform those actions. So instead of in the case of sale, C, R, C, U, and D are missing. Let me switch to my, so for sale, C, R, U, D, only R is available. No use case to create, no use case to update, no use case to delete. Can you give me a use case in this case that would create a sale or update a sale or delete a sale? Can you formulate use cases? That's what you would need to do in real world when you apply Crud to identify missing use cases. Anybody wants to give me examples of a use case that would delete a sale?
I can think of some.
What?
I can think of some.
You go ahead, share with us.
It could be either an item is removed, like it's no longer for sale, or a price match to another competitor. That would be an update.
Okay, remove item, I would say. Did you say remove item?
Yes.
That's an update, yes. So you're removing an. Give me another one for C.
Maybe a new item comes in, like the new iPhone, and that is a new item that's for sale.
So create new sale or add a sale, whatever you say. Let's see, add it. A sale. Or if you think about a sale that is associated with your ordering, probably when they you place an order, it creates a sale associated with your order. So placing an order or add an item probably is a better choice. Deleting a sale. Give me an example, Matt.
Probably refund, maybe.
Request refund or request return or request refund, let's say. They cancel the sale. So when you do, thank you. When you do CRUD and you identify what's missing, like what Matt did, think about use cases that would be doing those actions. So we did that for sale. Let's go back and see what is missing for adjustment. Think about adjustment as a promotion. I think that's easier. It's something that's been added to a sale to adjust the price. So adjustment has only C. So going back to our worksheet, and let me clear all drawings. For adjustment, think about again as a promotion if that makes it easier, but it's different in reality. Most of us are used to promotion because this is the side we see, and most of us are used to working with order because that's our side, but for them is a sale associated with the order. So it has C, but R, U, and D are missing. So this one is there, these three are missing. Anybody wants to talk about use cases that would do R, U, or D on instances of adjustment or promotion, let's say? Anybody wants to think about use cases? Shubhani, did you want to talk about something?
For adjustment, I cannot think of anything right now.
Like adjustment, I would say it's the equivalent of your promotion. So create process account adjustment. Anybody else wants to give me example? Daniel?
So that would be like maybe like at the checkout when they enter a discount code.
That reads or updates is for reading. Enter promotion.
That would update. Right?
Oh yes, like if there is a quota or the maximum number of people who can use the promotion. So I would say it reads the promotion information to verify, also updates it. So it does both U and R. Like sometimes they say until this time, or sometimes say until 300 people have used it. So if that's the second case, they would need to update the counter of that promotion. How about delete? Who wants to give me a delete?
Maybe when the promotion ended or something, they're gonna delete it, right, ma'am?
Yeah, end the promotion. Then you want to delete it or archive it if deletion doesn't make sense for your project. So a lot of time you want to archive, or sometimes they have different databases for archival data and current data. So there are details that can go behind delete versus archive discussion, but you tried. So I think everybody, as it's the first time you're seeing, if this is the first time you're trying to make sense of it, so good job. This was this example. Now I'm going to give you this example. There are entities, yes, customer, order, inventory item, and shipment. And there are use cases listed, okay? I want you to create Crud table. So I want you to put the entities at the top. Maybe you want to number the use cases if you don't want to write them again. So let's say use case number 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7. You can do that. And then tell us what is missing and give a use case that would help us complete the list. Let's spend 4 minutes on this. Create your CRUD table. And see, go one row at a time. CRUD on the entities that are there. And then one column at a time. What is missing? CRUD or a combination. Let's give you 4 minutes to get started, and then I'll ask someone to share their table, create it on Microsoft Word, and maybe I'll go ahead and use my 4 minutes to create my own version so we can work together and complete the CRUD table. So Pranav, go ahead, complete the first 2 rows for me. I'll give you control.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I also made one small word file.
Okay, so just help me with the first 2,
Okay.
and then I'll let you go work on your own.
Okay. The first one is adding.
I gave you control, so you can write.
Okay.
Let me just let you to actually write. Go ahead. Go ahead, write.
Okay. I'm not able to control it, ma'am.
Oh, I gave control to Pranavi.
Okay.
Let me give it to you.
Yeah.
And then we go to Pranavi. So you first, and then we go to Pranavi. First 2 rows.
The customer and the order item.
Add a new customer. So what does it do? CRURD. See there?
Yeah.
And find customer does R. Perfect. That's good. I'm gonna go to the next student.
Okay.
So perfect. So we have C and R. And I'm gonna turn my caps lock down, and let's see who is next. Pranav. Where is Pranavi now? Here. Pranavi, the next 2, please. Generate customer list. It's actually read, not update. You're generating a list, not updating.
Read and update customer information. The customer can read, update, and even delete.
Exactly. Good. Good. Perfect. So
Also,
next is Kavita. Okay, next will be Kavita. Just let me get control back. Don't move anything on my screen.
Okay.
And let's go to, or maybe I'll just go by the list. Kavita.
Yeah.
Next 2, please.
Yes, ma'am. So read new order, create new order is a C.
On customer, you're not creating a customer.
Sorry. No, this is for C for order item. And view order is read for view order.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good. Let me get my cursor and give control. Oh, don't move things on my screen. Just give a second.
Sorry. Yeah.
Give a second so I can go back to my tools. And let's, Shivani, next 2, please.
Yes, ma'am. So order history will be read. Add new inventory will be create.
Yep. Perfect. Done. Give me a second to get back control and give it to someone else. Thank you. Anissa, you're next.
The view inventory item, it would be R here.
Yes.
And also the find inventory is also R here.
Exactly. Good job. Give me a few seconds so I can get my cursor back and give it to Aisha. You're next. We don't have K, Aisha. Generate inventory item list. Read and you, perfect. Give me a second so I can have my cursor back and give it to Churchill. Next 2.
Can I have access?
Yep. No. You're writing on the wrong row.
This?
No, next one.
Okay.
Delete inventory item.
And then you create.
This is talking about inventory item, Churchill, not about shipment.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So it says delete, so it's clearly delete, not update. So delete.
Okay. Delete.
Delete. You just delete.
Yeah.
Okay, and next one is about shipment. So create new shipment.
New shipment.
It says create.
Sorry. Create. Yeah.
Perfect. Good job. So let's see who is next. Ching, you're next on my list. Your shipment detail or generate shipment report. Perfect. Thank you, Ching. Let's see who's on my list. And next is Kelvin. Kelvin, there is one more for you. Last row. Let me go ahead, do that. Exactly. Perfect. So let me get control back. Don't move the cursor, Kelvin, so I can get control back. You did a good job, class. So let's see. I think Kelvin just extended my page count. I had stated, I had somehow stayed within a page. Oh, you added a space here for me. Here. Okay. Now I have it back to one page again. I'm gonna add another row and then somebody has to do one row at a time, see what's missing, okay? Let's see who is next on my list and who will be doing the analysis one column at a time. I have Lance, you're next. So look at them and tell us what is missing or what is there. So for customer, which one is there, which one is missing? Why are you changing my screen? Why are you moving the screen? You just need to write. I don't, okay.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Let me just move because I don't see things now. You moved my screen. Okay, now I see it. Start writing.
Okay, so for what customer was missing? For customer, I believe wrote it down here. It was up. Delete was missing from customer, I think. So like, I think deleting customer info.
Sure.
So
there is a D in update customer, but you want to have a specific use case for delete. Yes. So say D is missing. So just write D. And then we add a use case delete customer. Just at the bottom row. Bottom row at the end.
Oh, here.
Yes.
Okay.
D is missing. Okay, next one. How about the order item?
order item for that one, it was, let's see.
Scroll.
Update and I think update and delete were missing. So we need to update the orders that were received. And we also need to delete. Like I put two things for delete. I put like where you delete satisfied orders and then you also cancel orders.
Sure.
So
U and B are missing and you just gave us use cases for that. Perfect. Canceling and deleting. All right, next one. Inventory item. What's missing there?
For this one, yeah, for this one, it was just update that was missing. Well, wait. Actually, I think this one had everything. At least I couldn't find anything.
Yeah, are you on there? Next one.
Next one, what was missing was update. Update was missing, so we need to update the shipment details somehow.
Exactly. Perfect. Really good. Very good, everyone. It was a group teamwork. A group work that you did really well. Let me see if I have the completed version on my slide. No, but the way Lance completed the work that all of you started earlier, that was a great ending. So just naming some of the use cases that would do that. So I think I have to go back to that chart for you to see what we have, because that's it. I don't have the completed version of on my slide. So these are the missing use cases, and we just heard some examples of those use cases. So Crud, I told you it's important because it's also a way to organize your access control and talk about security. So when we did projects in Mendix, and this is how it looks like on Mendix, and there is a similar way of doing that for your own project on any platform. So there are entities, and this is CRUD table, but it's created in a different way. So they're not the same format, but exact same idea. So there are these entities that are listed on the left: family events, location, schoolwork, TD picture, to do. These are classes. Eric has a question. It says there is delete for the customer. So you just add the use case. So D is missing. So delete a customer is a use case that would do that, or remove a customer. So you would provide a use case that does that action when that action is missing. There is a D, you're right, Eric. There is a D, update customer information. So some people may delete a customer when they're updating them. It could happen, like if you change their account to expire. So it can implicitly delete the customer. But if you wanted to add an explicit use case to delete it, you would add it. So I see your point. Let's go back. So Eric is saying we have a delete here. So here, updating customer. In a lot of cases, we want updates to be general, meaning that you can update or you can delete at the same time. But for Lance, we wanted to have an extra explicit use case for deleting, and that's a good thing to have. So if you didn't add that or you add that, both are valid for responses. Going back to the example. So here, in this example, that is Crud used to set security. And then there are module roles, different roles, meaning different groups of users, those stick figures that you have on your use case diagram, a child or a parent, and it says, can they create instances of that class? Yes or no. Can they delete instances of that class? Yes or no. Can they read and write? Read is reading and write is updating. can read and write. So this is an example of use of CRUD, C-R-U-D, for specifying access control and security. This is where let me show you where I got this one. So this is a low-code app development. Daniel, may look familiar to you. You did a project there. So when you go to their module, this is the different pages that they have and different microflows that identify their processes. So there is different pages of the app. And if you see, there is also a domain model which has classes, a to-do class, school, work, location, family events, and pictures associated with the to-do. So this is an app for managing your to-do items. When it comes to the module security, they talk about page access, who is able to access what pages. So they list the pages of the app, and the child and the parents are the two user groups, two stick figures, and these are the way they can access different pages of the app. Also the same thing for the processes, what processes they can access, and it comes to the entities or classes. The classes are listed here. This is row 1, saying that a child can create, delete, read, and write instances of family events. A parent has less access. They cannot create, they cannot delete, they can read, but they cannot write. So this is CRUD, C-R-U-D, that helps you specify access policies, access rules, and security policies. So in this example, you see that all the classes, for example, location, for a child, they can create, delete, read, and write. Again, for the parents, they cannot create, they cannot delete, they can read, but no write. So the reason I told you the reason I told you CRUD, C-R-U-D, is just an excellent tool for organizing your ideas when it comes to your use cases, when it comes to your features of the system and who can access what in terms of security and access control, who can do what with instances of what class. So it's a tool that I hope you will use and use again and again in your future, depending on the need. So anybody has any questions about CRUD? No? No questions about CRUD, C-R-U-D? No? So I want a volunteer to show their concept map, completed concept map. I've seen one. Anita, as always, she follows up with me after class and she finishes the work, and usually her work is really high quality. She has an example, but I want to see somebody else volunteer and share their own example. Who else has done the work and is proud and wants to share it? Who wants to do that? Some of you are quieter. Lance, you talked. Shivani, you talked. Pranav did some work. Manasa, you didn't talk a lot today. Do you want to share your concept map?
Yes, I'll show it. Just a minute.
And I haven't looked at everyone else's except for Anita's. So we'll have to look at it together and see how it looks like. Just share your collab project, we're running together. Chingy has talked, Aisha has talked, Anita has talked. Eric, I don't think you talked. Did you share or talk? I think Kelvin did. Churchill, you haven't talked. Are you ready to share? Are you more ready than Manasa because she's taking a few seconds? Matthew has talked. Daniel has talked. Kavita has talked. Anybody's ready to share? Okay, let's see who. Manasa, you did it. All right, let's look at the picture. I'm gonna read the labels first. Okay, this is good. So you have 8 to 10 concepts. Okay, let's see the picture first. I want to see the picture first, and then I'm gonna read the labels of your code because that's easier to read. Okay, then scroll up so that I see your code. Good, nice. So SDLC planning phase that defines requirement. SDLC phase that defines requirement is planning. No, it's not planning. You don't define requirements, do you? Define goals. Phase that defines the goals and defines the plan or schedule. So the first one that connects SDLC to planning, yeah, that is not defining requirement during planning. You define a schedule, for example, defines a schedule. Yeah. SDLC that defines the schedule is planned, gathers requirement. SDLC phase which determines how the system will operate is design. SDLC phase which builds. I like that you connected SDLC to different phases. Puts the product. I like it. Yep, I like the consistency. Planning and analysis identifies needs and creates a plan before analysis. Now you did the dependencies. What comes before? Yes. Okay, I like it. Yeah, you've tried to connect it really logically. Design, transport to come into system, attribute for implementation. Really good. I think this is the first time I see SDLC phases all together connected to each other and very creative and valid labels. Good job. This was a good example. Good job. Who else wants to share? Anybody played? Good job, Manasa. Who played with the features? Who came up with something that's new? Who did some extra work to discover something that we didn't discuss in class? Good job, Manasa. I love yours. Anybody else wants to share? Churchill, what have you done?
Okay, I'm sharing mine now. Just a second.
Sure.
I've closed the page, so I'm trying to locate it.
Yeah, 4 more minutes. Eric, do you want to share while Churchill is looking for his link? No? Anybody else wants to volunteer? Churchill, you work on finding yours. I think we have one for example. Who hasn't talked yet? Everybody talked. I think Daniel, go ahead, share yours if you have it ready. Do you have it ready? No? Not ready? Who has it in front of them? Anita, do you have yours?
No, ma'am, I have to get it. Just a minute if you want.
Just collab.
Professor, I have it ready. I can share.
Go ahead, share it, yes. Okay, let me put the names list on the side. And so you have a different approach. So you have concepts from different phases. Let's go up. I want to see the labels. User, functional requirement, user, specified, yes. Functional requirements, superclass, can have one or more. Good. Non-functional requirements, define quality attributes of the system. Nice. Functional requirements help to verify the functionality in software. Not verify, they just define the functionality of the system. Activity diagram is a UML diagram is a type of use case. UML is not a type of use case. So the third from last. So UML is the language, so it's unified modeling language. And there are UML diagrams, and use case diagram is one of the UML diagrams.
Okay.
Class can have 0 or more attributes. UML visualizes the design for system. Yes, UML can help. So just that one between UML and use case needs modification, but everything else looks good. So good job, really good job. I think I'm impressed. You're like, this is good. Usually I have to comment a lot on the labels, but your labels are very creative and good. Churchill, can you show it really quickly before we let you all go?
Yes, yes, please.
And just everyone, if you wanted to attend that meeting, it starts at 7, so you have a little bit of break for dinner. So let me see, UML contains attributes. Again, UML is a language, yes? Okay. Unified modeling language.
Okay.
And then the UML diagrams, there are many diagrams. One of them is a class diagram. UML class diagram contains attributes. Or better, you can say classes contain attributes. So this practice helps you just make sure the concepts are a little bit sharper in your memory in terms of what they belong to. UML methods, again, same thing. Agile, waterfall, agile used for modeling waterfall. No, because agile is, a spiral model is an example of agile, but waterfall is non-agile. Classes might have attributes, activity diagram, use cases used for modeling. Yeah, good. Superclass can have good. Class methods might have methods. Waterfall is not used for modeling. Activity diagram, agile activity, no. So the ones that have agile, the used for modeling, they all need to be. So the third one, and those two at the end, use case, UML, used for modeling and interaction with systems. Use case, used for modeling and interaction with systems in UML. So the last 3, and the one that connects agile and waterfall, you have to modify the labels. But good class, this is a good practice for you to get clearer about the concepts that may appear that are all over the place at this time. So good job. I'll see you on Wednesday for the lab exercise. And this is going to be last lab exercise for this learning period, because then we're gonna spend our time practicing for exam next week, doing exam review, and then having your exam the 7th week. So this is week 5, next week exam prep week, and then after that the exam. Let me see, I have a question on the chat. Yes, videos, I'll work on them tonight. Yes, I have to get them on YouTube. I'll work on them. And I'll send you a note. Sorry about that, Kelvin. I know you asked before. Any other questions?
Professor, you mentioned about the exams. When is it exactly? Exam 1?
It's on your schedule, but I believe it's Monday or Wednesday on week 7. So, and this is week 5. So,
right. Okay.
It's either on 22nd or 24th of February, but you have to go back to the schedule. I'm not 100% sure. But next week is exam prep week, so we'll talk about the dates and all those things. Good job, class, doing the Crud activity with me. Keep that in mind. That's a useful tool, so keep it in your long-term memory section, okay? Not the part that you just keep things for the exam. I hope you attend the guest lecture tonight, and I'll see you later. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Professor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Professor.
You're welcome. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, ma'am.
Bye. Take care.
You too.
Thanks.